Hey there folks, welcome back to Let's Play Romancer 3 Kingdoms 12. I'm the Mysterious JG, your host for this Let's Play of the Kowai strategy game that is in Japanese with an English language patch. I'm not going to say this every single video, but if anybody who's picking up here for the first time, this is a legally obtained copy I got while I was in Japan. I do not have, nor would I be interested in spreading information on how to download this game. Alright, so, yeah, last time I got all confused about whether I'd picked up the right save slot. I've determined that I've got the right save slot, but, you know, where I got all screwed up about not sending officers off to Juju's city on the last turn, I probably lost a little bit of, I probably lost a bit of time by not having people moving to that city earlier, but it is what it is, folks. Or maybe I actually acquired it on that turn. Whatever. It's not worth worrying about. There are going to be there's enough officers running around at the same time that, yeah, unless you spend hours agonizing over every turn, you're occasionally going to have people who are probably not at 100% of what they should be doing for you. Nevertheless, at the beginning of this turn, as we saw at the end of the last video, Guojia popped up to give us another tutorial, and this tutorial is going to be on officer loyalty and salaries. It works fairly similar mechanic to previous Three Kingdoms games. Your officer loyalty runs from 100 down to theoretically 0, although people tend to leave your force well before it gets down that low. At least they did in previous games. If people have been leaving my force in this game, they've probably been doing it in little text windows that popped up that were in Japanese, and I probably didn't even realize that people were leaving my force. But my gameplay style, my habit is to keep loyalty above 95 at all times anyway. So Guojia gets our attention by calling us Cao Cao, and he starts telling us some stuff. And as we can see here, there's two different colors of thing that can appear above somebody's name. This has been translated. I'm pleased by this, because this is something that could cause real trouble. But in red, the word discontent appears in this English language version, and in green, satisfied appears. Now, I don't really know what it means when someone's loyalty is 99 and they're discontent. I mean, I do know what that means. That means somebody is, their personal loyalty is such where they're not going to abandon the force, but they're not happy. They feel like they should be treated better. But in terms of game mechanics, I don't know what that means. Is somebody still going to leave your force even at 100 or 99 loyalty if they're unhappy with their pay? How long does it take before that? Does this mean that their loyalty is what it is for terms of random number generator? Will they leave your force, but it will decrease at a faster rate than somebody who's content? I don't really understand that for sure. I do know that if your officers are discontent, you probably want to make sure that you satisfy. So he talks about this some more, but ultimately we have a significant group of our officers who are unsatisfied, including Eugene. I don't like saying the names, not just because I'm afraid I'm pronouncing them wrong, but because they're abbreviated, and sometimes I think I'm saying the whole name, and I'm not. But Sima Lang, I know that that's his whole name. Junyu, Guojia, Cao Hong. Cao Hong I thought was a family member, so I'm surprised to see him. And then you got Cao Ren. I mean, Cao Ren, yeah, maybe he thinks he should be making more money, but it's difficult to imagine him leaving. And of course, Dian Wei, Cao Cao's personal bodyguard, who has the tragic end and all of the multiply officers wish. This automatically selects all officers who are unsatisfied and increases their gold enumeration by whatever it increases it by. And as you can see, your income will decrease. So this makes sense. You can go to a list and see it laid out this way instead. So let's try this. No, I don't want to. I want to deselect them. What I want to do is actually see. I'm having some double click issues here. So what's happening is we're increasing their remuneration by 50 gold per turn. That's what's happening. So despite the phrase multiply officers wish, you're not really multiplying anything. You're just increasing, I guess your 50 gold times your number of officers is multiplication, I suppose. But no, you're increasing each of these officers' pay by 50 per turn, so your total force income is going to decrease. Unless I am desperately strapped for cash, I pretty much always, when I get this message that people are unhappy, just pay them. And I think it was RTK 6. And there's an LP of that one out by Grimmeth Reaper, if you're interested. Had a much more complicated system. You weren't just given these, like, boom, red flag, beeping, message, this guy's unhappy, fix it now. You kind of had to more actively keep an eye on your force. I could see that being more interesting, also potentially more frustrating. This game just brings it straight to your attention right off the bat. There's no mystery about Guoji is unhappy, but you're not aware of it because you have different loyalty, or you have different dreams. He's a loyalist to the Han. You're trying to usurp the Han, so even though he works for you and you're paying him, your decisions are affecting. There's no mechanic like that in this game that I'm aware of. It's flat out, are you paying them enough money? And that is one of the reasons why I intend to try to get Lu Bu on my force. I don't believe there's anything in this game where Lu Bu is going to, like, go rogue and try to take one of your cities from you, even though he works for you, as long as you pay him money. And even if you pay him money, I think in this game he's just going to go to another force. But it's possible. I haven't played this game for hours and hours. Maybe it does happen. But, yeah, as far as more complicated mechanics, like, oh, they have different personal motives than you, there's nothing like that in the game. Jian Wei and manly, grumbly talk tells us that he's pleased. As you can see, he has hair on top of his head, so a different character design for him than the Dynasty Warriors series has settled on. At Lu Jian, an interesting officer named Zhou Tai have been discovered. And seems to be appointed as Sun Tzu. Yeah, so sometimes they just tell you when a historical or important officer pops up and goes to another force. There was no opportunity for us to recruit Zhou Tai. He was always going to end up with the Sun family. It is our turn. Officers have arrived at Puyan, and that was the, like, horse, you know, I don't know, what do you call it when horses make noise? Clomp, clomp, clomp. That was the sound that we had there of officers arriving at Puyan. In Chunliu, Junyu was different from Junyu. I don't speak Chinese, folks. This is an officer who worked for Cao Cao. Highly confusing for Westerners or any non-Chinese speakers who are trying to understand the Three Kingdoms thing. But there are two characters whose names I'm sure are subtly different. I mean, you know, there are certainly names in the West that don't sound that different to us that would confuse people in other languages. Like, you know, I'm trying to think of an example, but to me, you know, Johnson and Jackson. Nobody in America would ever confuse a Johnson and a Jackson. But if you're coming from another country, those names might be similar enough that they would throw you. There are two characters who work for Cao Cao, and they are both kind of political strategist advisory types whose names essentially come out, as far as I could tell, as Jun Yu. And this is the second one. This is Jun Yu spelled Y-O-U as opposed to just Y-U. He's a good officer. We definitely want him. He's offered to join us. I ain't gonna argue. Jun Yu says, "Thank you, Cao Cao. I'm sorry, my name is so similar to that other guy's." Speak of the devil. Here's Jun Yu spelled Y-U. And he's telling us that at Runan Heiyi something. This is the yellow turban guy that we tried to hire, and he appears to be willing to join us. His stats aren't fantastic. But, you know, he's got above average leadership. He's got good war. He's a typical yellow turbans officer. He's not good for much of anything except fighting. And he's probably not as good at fighting as the core group of military officers Cao Cao already has. But he's the kind of guy, he's got a good enough leader that he can serve well at a barracks. He's got high enough war, we can put him at a guard post. He's definitely a valid, worthwhile addition to our force. And he probably said thank you, but I double-clicked by mistake. Now Guojia is telling us something about Shenliu and Jiapei that I can't understand. Probably that they got a particularly good harvest this year or something. I don't know. That was the ding 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 is the happy sound. So whatever happened there, it was good. Yeah, probably. Oh, look at how much food they got. Yeah, that's almost certainly what it was. They got some kind of boost to food. Although the reason this place only has 60 food is because there's no officers working the farms over there. Cao Cao and Puyan have rumors of buried items. So now we have officers here. We can put one of them to work at the Finder of Lost Loves. There are officers, in theory, that we could try to hire, but, well, until we assign an officer. Oh, and as you see, I didn't really bring anybody over here of really high intelligence. Our best intelligence is someone of only 74. So we don't have any chance of hiring any of these officers. And all of them are actually working for another force. These are forces. These are officers in the neighboring areas. So even if we had a really high intelligence officer, we're not likely to be able to catch them. But as he told us, officers here, their hidden items could be found. We don't have anybody with the find skill. And it might not be a bad idea to try to summon someone with the find skill. What's he doing? Manchow is working at a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Let's get him over here. He doesn't have find. I'd like to have him here too because he's got higher. But if we got Manchong here, he could search for hidden items for us. Now, where was Manchong? He was probably... Well, we got a few new officers, so I got a little thrown off as to where everybody was at. He may have been... Oh, he must have been working here, because there's nobody working this farm now. We could put Jun Yu to work on it, but it seems like it's beneath his talents. We have one officer here who's not assigned to do anything. Damn it, this mouse is... Wait. Yeah, I accidentally clicked on an enemy city, so I can't tell what's going on at all. This mouse is going on me. Alright, well, let's automate here. And they brought Sima Lang over to run this farm. It seems beneath his dignity, too, but we got officers with 88. I generally trust the game. He has the farm skill. Other guys are working the markets who have skills related to market, and we put him here. This is probably the most efficient thing that we can be doing. And we have, who are you? You are Zhu Ling, and of course Ji Haodun are working the barracks. And frankly, this city had already had stuff laid out. I didn't want to mess with it too much. But it's got more markets and less barracks than I would like, but the barracks at least are a little bit developed, so we'll see what happens there. And I moved somebody over here who can become our finder of lost loves, but in the meanwhile, let's put these officers to work. We'll automate it. And we even have Zhu Zhu working at the guard station, so that's good. The only facility, because we've got 8 officers and 10 chunks of land, the only place where nobody is working is the plot and the finder of lost loves. I might want to put one of these smart guys to work at the plot just in case it makes a difference. But I guess I'll trust the game to make the right decision. Again, I'm sure sometimes when I manually assign someone to this facility, it's not helping, but I don't understand this mechanic, so I try to play it safe and have somebody working that thing if I can. Because I'll try tactics against the computer in the same way it tries them against me, and they'll fail. And I assume that it has something to do with having done that wrong. You, in the meantime, found somebody with your last search, so you are now defaulted to just whatever the hell search you feel like doing. But let's get you working on trying to get Peiyuan Shao, who's not like the best officer in the world, and the odds of getting him aren't good, but it'll give you something to kind of work on. Because he'll keep at it, I believe. And we can automate so that we get our new Yellow Turbans officer recruiting troops for us. As you can see, our draft has increased to 950. Over here, our draft is at 818. And over here, our draft is over 1,000 because we've got a decent chunk of military officers, guys like Cao Ren, Yue Jin, and Cao Chun, I guess, are over here working this angle. But this is fine because while we could run into trouble with these guys in theory, definitely our most vulnerable position, because we have an alliance with Yuan Shao right now, is going to be this city here. In plot terms, we're going to be fine. But if there was something where we were going to be in trouble, it would be here. We got fewer troops here anyway, so I definitely want to have a good high draft rate going at this city. And now, unless I decide that I want to... I do have more gold in my coffers. And the next turn we'll be done with this research and ready to start researching something else. But I'm still kind of tempted to acquire a strategy. We have a lot more at disposal because we have so much more gold. As a matter of fact, we got most of them we can use. Shrinking Earth policy, one turn to arrive at a transport and movement. Never used that. These, I'm just looking at the ones we can't use. Double troop of your officers. Huh. I imagine you still need to have enough troops, but it's just each officer can have twice as many in their unit as their leadership score would normally allow. No exit, enemy can't leaving the main camp. That can be useful in certain situations. Tai, reduce all the mobility of enemy forces. Empty C, make gates strong, enemies fall back. You don't use those too often. No policy, enemies unable to use a secret plan or tactics. That might be why my tactics sometimes fail, but I don't think that's constantly in effect for my enemies. Regroup brings your whole army back to the main camp. Some of these won't make any sense to reduce combat. Reinforce, refill your troops from your camp evenly. That one won't make sense right now. Ambush, all forces will be in favor of ambush. I still don't really get the ambush mechanic. No return, enemy can't return to the main camp. That's actually an interesting one that I haven't played with. Inspire is kind of the generic one I use when I know I'm going to be in combat. It just raises the combat power of the army. In some kind of invisible way that I can't track, it is increasing the effectiveness of your troops in combat. So I figure it can't be doing me any harm. I usually try to have the stock of those. You can only have 3 tactics at a time, of both military and political. You can only have 3 things. Farsight, spread to the entire battlefield visibility. Removes the fog of war. That may be useful for preventing anybody from sneaking around your attacking army and hitting your main camp. Cut road, enemy city can't request reinforcements. This is the one that kills me on the highest difficulty level. Which I have no reason. I'm sure I could beat the highest difficulty level in this game. I just figured for LP purposes, play it on normal. Makes it, you know, it's less stressful for me. I'm trying to figure out commentary as I go. Sealing. Stop the secret plan of the enemy forces. I believe this is like this thing below. No return. What was it? No policy. I think this is to stop sort of map screen policies, like the overall map of China. And this is something that you would bust out when you're actually on the city screen combat. So if somebody wants to use cut road, although that's, you'd need to know that was coming in advance, but if somebody's using something like well, all the good examples are up here. Plunder, foods, fiscal. These are things that are like, you know, overall on the map, stuff's happening. No strategy would prevent them, whereas sealing is going to stop them from using something like Farsight, remove the fog of war, Inspire, increase your troop capability in combat. You get me? You get me. Negotiation, able to trade troops, cards, tech via diplomacy. Never used it because I don't use the diplomacy mechanic. But in theory, if somebody else had a technology you wanted, you could use this and it would open up new things that you're allowed to trade for. Foods, money is paid. Money paid to officers is used to buy food. It's an interesting one. As far as I can make out, what that means is it increases your food intake, your food income, excuse me, and it's going to be more effective if you have more officers. Plunder is a personal favorite. You steal troops, tactics, and money from enemy city. Tactics I don't get. I think there's some kind of tactical score that I can't see and haven't worked out, where the plot facilities are producing a tactic. And the more tactics you have, the better your strategies work, and the worse your enemies work against you. But that's really just a theory. I mean, there's nothing I can there's nothing in the game that I can actually read and understand that talks about that. There's like little hints that might be what's happening, but they also might be translation errors. But you definitely steal troops and money from the enemy cities using this. But it's only the neighboring cities. As far as I can make out, the AI doesn't like attack you based on you using this. You're not like going to aggro them into coming after you. It's just kind of something you can do. Fiscal is one that the AI likes to use a lot. Basically, you're getting these things according to your fame. So the more fame you have, the more of a boost it gives you. I like using plunder because of the idea in my head. A, it lasts longer. It's 5 turns. And B, so you don't have to redo it as often. But B, you're increasing your own stuff and you're decreasing that of your neighbors. Discord, lower the loyalty and income of enemy city. Haven't played with that. But the tactics in this game tend to be, you know, the higher tactical skills. Like there's some of them, cut road either works or it doesn't. This one, it might be, like in previous Romance 3 Kingdoms game, you can send officers off to try to plant a rumor and lower an officer's loyalty, and you have like it seems like you got a 95% chance that it's going to fail. But in this one, I think it probably works consistently, but it might not have much of an impact. But I haven't used it, so I couldn't really say. Because clearly in this game, I can see having a 100% effective tactic that lowers city income, but it might not lower it by very much if you don't have very high falutin tactical skill. Lowering officer loyalty, in previous games that would be a big deal, but in this game I don't know, other than using the finders, if there's a mechanic to go hire officers out from underneath the enemy. There's certainly nothing that I'm aware of where you can have officers defect in the battle. I mean, I hope you guys continue watching the LP and enjoying it, but no, this is in many games the most straightforward and simple RTK game I've played. I don't think it's just because there's a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen and don't understand. I mean, the AI isn't pulling complex tricks, by and large, except for they keep screwing me over on hard difficulty with Cut Road. And last but not least is Employ. Widen the scope of the recruitment of your zone. I don't know, I guess it expands it across all China, but it basically means that while this is in effect, the officers that your finder can hire anywhere. This is actually a pretty good one to use. I don't use it as much as I probably ought to. Especially because I tend to build a finder in every city. But, I mean, it does take quite a few turns for your officer. Like, Jun Yu is a good officer, and he might have the hire ability. But if I send him down to the non-Mon territories to hire somebody, it's gonna be several turns before it's accomplished. So let's go ahead and actually get the plunder tactic and get that working. This will pull these guys off of their other work. In theory, if I really wanted to keep him working on the plot, I could pull him off and get somebody else going instead, but development time, what if I did, it was 4. What if Deter City? Post? Working? Food supply? Rec? Recruiting, probably. These guys must be at the market. What if I brought in this guy? How much would it slow things down? It would take 5 turns. Let's go ahead and put Guojia on it. Because there will also be a mechanic where once they've developed this tactic, I'm going to have an opportunity to try to increase its effectiveness. And the 3 officers that I chose to get it are going to impact how well that would work. So I'll go ahead and pull my 3 smartest dudes and Jihao Dun, who is required because he has the ride skill. Increases chance of special attack during a duel. So I need one because it's a raid tactic. I need kind of a military guy to be involved, but it's actually my Brainiac dudes I need to actually get it developed quickly. So it'll take me 4 turns to develop it. These guys will be tied up for 4 turns. But the when I get it, I'll get it in a minimum of 5 turns of advantage out of it. So I'll go ahead and do it. You guys can, as we go, comment on whether you think it's a good idea. Over Zero is fastest. Thank you, Kuojia, for making us laugh about love again. So it says 10 officers, 6 at work. But the problem is, of course, 3 of them are now developing the plan. So it doesn't show them as being at work, but they actually are at work. And one of them is on his way to this city to be the finder of lost loves. Everybody's working for the weekend over here. Everybody's working for the weekend over here. And I do believe we can end our turn. Do we want to do anything here? I could use an employed tactic right now. You've got find and hire. I'm sending somebody with search over here. Maybe I should just do that. Try to grab some good officers early on. But I am a little worried about messing up plot events. I want to get at least to the point where Jihaodun has his LASIK surgery gone wrong before I start messing around too much with stuff that could disrupt story events. So I'll go ahead and just hold that in reserve. Either way, folks, let's end our turn. And Juan Ganing has surfaced, but he's probably going to go to work for somebody else before I can hire him. Oh, he didn't go straight to work for them. I might be able to grab Ganing. Ganing is an excellent officer. He in this game... Puyan. Manchong has arrived in Puyan. Okay. And we have developed income. Well, folks, that seems like a pretty good way to end the video now that we have income. Certainly, I'm going to see if there's any way we can hire Ganing before another force does. That would be a real feather in my cap. I played through as Yuan Shao. I played through as Cao Cao off-screening. In both of those plays, Ganing was one of my main generals by the end of the game. Very good stats. He has a very good in-battle skill, which I won't get around to showing you until we have battle. And I have to admit, if I'm going for the plot events, I'm not going to actually have a battle I manually control for a bit. It might be a minute, as they say, before that happens. But we'll see it eventually. At any rate, folks, I'm the Mysterious JG. I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you will join me for the next episode of Let's Play Romance of Three Kingdoms 12. Goodbye.